So now we have a very different topic. I often ask myself, I come myself from a big corporation, Johnson & Johnson, and I changed recently, and I ask myself, but can actually today, large corporations tell you, you have to innovate, all of you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but then I ask myself, can really large corporations innovate at all? I come from a large corporation where processes are so slow, the decision-making process is so slow, you have so many regulations, highly regulated, lots of compliance, and you may think, well, this is a killer for innovation. Is it really? So this is what Xenia will talk about. So Xenia Tao is a director and regional head control at Credit Suisse in Zurich, and she's responsible for insider trading surveillance and monitoring at the bank's trading positions. And she's also responsible for the implementation of employee policies and processes to enhance control and compliance culture with the bank. So thank you for joining us. Xenia, it's yours.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a really cool venue, and I think as Max Oliver says, the venue really does make the event, if you will. I was, as you can tell, thought it was going to be a very corporate thing. Should have worn my jeans. But it's nice to be here, and it's nice to be around so many women, a few men. It's really nice, so thank you very much for inviting me. And before I start my talk, I have to say that the views and opinions that I express today at this event are my own and do not represent the views and opinions of Credit Suisse Group and or its affiliates. Okay, so in the I was very honored, very flattered that eBay has asked me to come and speak at this women's event on innovation. In the beginning I thought, oh, how cute, I can come as a woman and I can, talk a little bit about what I do and what I see at the bank and so on. Yeah, no problems, And then, of course, they said, oh, we'll send you the details, via email. And I said, yeah, no problems. Then the email comes. It's a huge email. And it says, ooh, gold sponsor, Johnson & Johnson, European Professional Women's Network. The president will come and, talk about it. And I thought, innovation journey. And then we had a conference call. We had a chat via email, and I asked them, and you can confirm, I did ask several times, right? Are you sure? Do you really want me? Because you can back out, huh? That's not a problem. I won't take it personally. So I said, no, it will be a nice contrast. Right? So I said, okay, contrast it definitely will be. And you read, I work for a bank in Switzerland. I work for Credit Suisse, which I'm sure more than half of you are clients. It is true, and I think you all know this intuitively, that at a large organization, it is a little bit more difficult to be innovative. It's a little bit more difficult to be creative, right? Even more difficult if you are creative, if you have ideas, to be heard, right? And then once you are heard, you find out, ooh, that's not the right guy, right? Who listened to me. Right? It's not the right department, or I find out I have the wrong skills, even though, that was a great idea, So it's a little bit more difficult, but it does happen. It does happen at Credit Suisse. the history of Credit Suisse, more than 150 years old, demonstrates that, hey, we are constantly innovating, right? We always have, in our, performance ratings, and, every time, Brady Dugan talks, and all the corporate messages and everything, it's really about innovation. They want every single employee, from whether you work at admin, whether you work in IT, whether you work in research, investment banking, asset management, private, to innovate, right? And a lot of people, I think, get it wrong, in the sense that they're not quite sure what that means, right? They say, ooh, I've got to invent something, right? And that's where I work in the legal and compliance department. I said, no, please don't invent. We have enough products as it is. So they always say, we've got to come up with something different, something new, and no inventions, please. But we do have things that break through, right? Things that break through, like, and they're typically products or solutions that match what I would call market environment, right? Or what's happening to us, us meaning our clients, right? So the advent of e-banking, right? Our direct net systems, right? Or doing banking via your mobile app, right? That drove me crazy. But anyway, that is a new thing, right? Research on demand, right? That's also very new. Research on demand is something that I was very close to, a project that I was very close to. We're all used to buying research. So institutional customers buy research. So they want to know about what's going to happen to Novartis, what's going to happen to Roche. They buy research, for example. Or they get it for free, right? From our so-called independent research analysts at the bank, right? So they get it for free. Then, or the you and me, more you probably, not me, who invest, right? Then you also want to know, well, what's the prospects for my UBS shares, or CS shares going up, right? So then you also get research from your bank, right? And our research analysts thought, oh, well, that's boring. That's boring, to just sit there and write and wait for people to come and read it, right? We want to push the research out. And that's where, from the compliance department, we go, oh, bing, bing, bing. Someone wants to invent something, right? And we said, well, explain yourself, right? Please explain what is it that you want to do now, right? And this is the project where we thought, this is very interesting. They wanted to combine e-banking, right, the direct net services, and research. So through your online account, you can see, what kind of stocks you have, what your investment portfolio looks like. The engine, if you will, behind will then, learn that, okay, you're very heavily invested in pharma, right? I will now push, all the research updates on pharma to you, right? Because you're definitely interested, right? Then one step further, after that was launched, then one step further was, you might be interested in pharma, you might be interested in products, structured products, right? That maximizes, movements in a Novartis share, for example. An index fund, for example, right? Let's push that, to the client, right? Then, all this, and then you get an email alert, you get an SMS, you go to DirectNet, and then you get a pop-up and all these kinds of things. And, as an internet user myself, right, I always think, this is so easy, pop up, click away, email pops up and click away, But there's a lot that goes behind one of those, not just from a technical perspective, programming and everything, but also, crossing the legal and compliance hurdle, if you will. Because, I see it as cute, new invention, or a neat idea, really neat idea. I mean, it is different, to get research that way, right? To have your PC know what you might want to read, right? And what your portfolio is like, and so on. But there are a lot of regulatory hurdles, right? Particularly in a highly regulated industry such as banking, right? So pharma has it as well, highly regulated with the, R&D and drugs and, all these kinds of things. But banking, more and more so. And on top of that, currently, right, we as in the banking industry, suffers from social harassment, right? So, people all of a sudden, over the last, 3-4 years, don't like bankers anymore, right? Or anybody who works for a bank, because they think, oh, well, you are the guys who get the huge bonuses, huge salaries, and all the little people have to suffer and stuff like that. That's not necessarily all true. Yeah, so against this backdrop, it's very, we always have to understand the context. Oh, well, socially, people don't like banks, yet we still have customers, people still need the bank, people still need to, pay stuff and go on holiday and charge on their credit card or something, they still need us. So we still need to cater to our clients, right? And then of course, what I always do is I always train bankers, that come to me and say, listen, neat idea, lovely, who's your audience? Who's your audience? Please tell me only Switzerland, right? And they said, no. First Switzerland, then global. and it's a lovely thought, when I hear, Max Oliver and everybody saying, oh, we want, 37 cities, 21 to 39 hubs, and I'm thinking, every time I hear things like that, for every country that we need to sell into, that we have to push an email, an SMS text into, an email alert, or open a gateway, to banking, to us in Switzerland, it's that many more hurdles, regulatory, right? Cross-border selling restrictions, right? Whether we are allowed to spam you, right? Well, no, not spam. I mean, send you emails, right? So this is all. They are actual rules. They're laws. They're regulations. They may be in French and Spanish. Then you've got to look at the overall EU directive and so on. From a simple thing like an app, right, to tell you, what they call it, a location finder. You press the app, and then the phone will tell you whether you're near a Credit Suisse bank, right? That little app, right, takes 8 months to go from conception, right? I have an idea, wouldn't it be great, right? To put it down on paper, right? Slides normally. Slides, put it down on slides, right? Design, engage your IT guys, right? And then, what is also a very, very bad habit of bankers, the last stop, legal and compliance. Right? So then it comes all the way to me or a colleague of mine, and we have to say, ooh, it's just Switzerland, right? So just Switzerland, okay, but if you're going global, right, then we got to take a look at it. So, it's difficult, it's but not impossible, right? So it's just a little bit more difficult because you've got this whole apparatus behind the business part of a large organization, right? So and I mean, for a small thing like a little app, you may not have a couple of other bigger departments in your chain of launching a product. But for example, for e-banking or our currently Bon Viva, program where you have Roger Federer, on every poster, right? That sort of thing draws in our marketing departments, right? And it's huge. You have marketing, you have events, you have more legal and compliance because we have everybody to sign off. oh, does Roger Federer, can he do this? You know, is he allowed to? Can we use this language? You know, does it translate well? You know, when you say something in German and then, you know, translate it into English, not that it suddenly sounds weird or abusive, right? You know, so it's really quite a lot behind in a large organization. You know, but it does happen. You know, so far I've said a little bit about, you know, how difficult it is and at a large organization. From my perspective, I always sort of tell my team members, for example, you know, there are always ways, you know, there's a very good way to spot the innovators, right? And I would think at the back, from a legal and compliance perspective, first lesson to learn: spot the innovators. So, and you know, always remember that there are certain elements, right, that will make these innovators more active. Right? And they're typically things like significant organizational changes, right? Sort of tier 1, tier 2 level, you know, managing directors leaving the bank, right? You know, that will often shift, you know, internal dynamics. You know, a new leader will bring in their own new set of strategy and so on, right? That will often excite innovators. You know, my idea didn't work last time, but this time it worked. So there's that. Then also significant market share. So where there are you know, as we are currently suffering, we are still in financial crisis. That also moves. Funny enough, maybe they go quiet, and they don't do so much. They get very active because they think we need to be more efficient. We need to bring in more staff, and we need to push to the right category of people and clients. So that's a tip, if you will, from for any of you, you know, about to speak to your legal and compliance department or work in the legal and compliance department. That's really something that I observe, if you will, that you really need to, you know, notice the context and feel the environment a little bit. I know my time is up.
Good. So thank you very much. I assure you, we didn't give any of your email addresses to Xenia, so you won't get spammed by Credit Suisse.